morning. It's 7:18. I'm on my way to school. I was hoping to be at school by 7, but I did the best I could. Woke up at 5:30 to make sure I was on that bike by 6. And took a 30-minute teacher appreciation ride from Alex. I didn't even know that existed. And then I got dressed. Here I am. I was going to go to Starbucks beforehand, but I have changed my mind. I would rather get everything set up at school first and then go to Starbucks, because you just never know sometimes with Starbucks and how busy it's going to be. Plus the drink that I'm going to get for the student would be sitting in the refrigerator for a couple hours, which is fine, but needless to say, I'm going to Starbucks afterwards instead of beforehand. So I got home last night, walked Riley, ate my burrito bowl from Chipotle, and there was one thing I did forget to print, so I realized that. I've printed that out. And then I decided to make like an observation form for the team builder so that there's a place to notate how students interact with this team building activity. And I put all the envelopes together. And then I had to like straighten up the kitchen, make sure I had this t-shirt out and ready to go. So I didn't get into bed until like 11:30 last night, which is about an hour later than what I should have if my goal is to get 7 hours of sleep. So I'm feeling mostly prepared. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to print out the page that I forgot yesterday. There's a couple things I need to get for my class. I have a list, and then set their envelopes out on their desk. And then hopefully there will be time left over for me to go get the Starbucks and be ready to go. So, yeah, that's all I have to say right now. And of course, I will intermittently, well, I don't even know. Let me back that up. I don't know that I'll intermittently be checking in as the process is going, because I will be occupied for that little block of time. But I'm going to try some way, somehow, to like get some footage of how this is going. But if I don't get it, I'll just explain it to you when it's all over. I also don't know that I've ever said, like, under normal circumstances, all of this, in terms of the interview process, would be happening towards the end of the school year. And for obvious reasons, with some kids virtual, some kids in person, kids not even being able to be on campus for something like this, I couldn't do it during the school year. So hopefully, when the world has returned to an even more normal, or an even higher level, or what am I trying to say? When the world has returned to a stronger sense of normalcy, that's what I'm trying to say. All of this, in terms of the interview process and selecting the kids, will be done by the end of the school year next year. So I wouldn't normally be doing these things over the summer. And then as far as everything else, like with the house system, because a lot of people have commented like, you're doing a lot for school. I am, but this house system is a school-wide program, and you know, there's teachers in the world that are going to be naysayers, and if anything goes wrong, that's all the more reason for them to naysay. So I need to make sure that everything is like planned out and mapped out so that we can minimize the naysaying. Plus, we've never done this before. And so going into the summer, I knew that I was going to be working on school stuff more than normal, which is fine because my travel plans have been canceled and I didn't have any backup plans. And if I've never mentioned before, this leadership position is a stipended position, so I do get paid for the time that I am putting in. So, you know, there's that. But anyway, I will definitely let you know how things are going. Wish me luck. I think it's going to be fine. And I just have to tell myself, in a few hours, you'll be done and you'll have accomplished that task. So, I'll talk to you soon. 12:39. Interviews ended about an hour and a half ago. I think I got some footage of me laying out their materials, and then that's it. First, let's talk about what went right before we talk about what went wrong. So what went right, excuse me, is having X number of bodies to help with the process. So I know for next year, I need a minimum of, how many people was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 additional people to help either supervise in a room, help with the team building activity, help with the interview process, and then someone just that's kind of floating back and forth. So I had my assistant principal helping, the school counselor who is actually transitioning to another position, but she was kind enough to come help, the academic advisor, a former student, and then we had an additional sub on campus, so I made use of them, and that person really helped me out quite a bit this morning, just making sure I had everything in place. So definitely needing some additional help along the way. The interview process where they actually sat down and I was talking to them with the assistant principal went really well. I really liked the idea, and I stole this idea from somebody at the CATA conference. All these ideas for the most part came from someone else, and I just kind of tweaked them based on what I wanted to do. But for the interview, they had to bring in an item of significance to them, and the main focus of their interview was explaining what they brought, why they bought it, and why it was significant, and just kind of hearing what they bought, their reasoning behind it, and then seeing how they respond to follow-up questions was really helpful to kind of get to see their personality, see what their interests are. And then the assistant principal that I was working with is has a fun personality, so he would just ask them like random questions, and so we had a lot of good laughs in that process, so I really liked that. And I think in general, just having tasks. Now, I haven't been able to go through their envelopes yet to see what they produced, but the substitute that was helping me to monitor the students, she had time to look at everything ahead of time, and it all made sense to her. She was monitoring the room, and she said no one really had any major questions, like everything was clear to them, and the questions they did have were like legitimate questions that she didn't have the answer to, and they were very basic questions. So what she was doing in the workroom that they were at, where they were doing all the other tasks independently, was just kind of watching out for students. I told her to take note if there was any student that had a lot of questions, needed directions repeated, needed directions clarified in a way that was excessive. Was there anyone that was off task? Was there anyone that was super helpful? And just kind of jot that down on a spreadsheet that I gave her. So that worked really well. And then I checked in on the 2 teachers and the student that helped with the team building. They said that went really well, and they were able to kind of see those students that took initiative somehow, maybe students that were bossy, students that were extremely reserved, students that were not enthusiastic. So I think it all went well. What went wrong is that there's just little things that I need to tweak, one of which, and this is just my bad, I think I was just so tired last night that I didn't take this final step, and I know better. There were several students' applications sorry, there's a picture missing on my wall, and I don't know where it is, and I'm very concerned that I don't even see it anywhere. And I'm gonna be looking for that. And if I don't find it, that's going to be a major problem. What was I saying? I just got so thrown off. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm back. This picture was missing from my wall of activist, and it was over there, and it's broken. I don't know how. I don't know if it just fell off the wall by itself, or if in the process of them replacing the furniture it fell. We're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and we're just gonna assume that Rosa jumped off the wall by herself. So I'm not gonna stress. I'm telling myself I'm not gonna stress, but I'm stressing on the inside because I think that I can just, oh my God, super glue this frame back together and get that back on the wall. We'll worry about that another day. I have no idea what I was talking about before in relationship to interviews. Let me think. We talked about the team building. I don't remember. The team building task went well, but they were able to kind of see students that took initiative, were enthusiastic, were bossy, were super reserved, and they took note of that, and I'll be looking at all those notes when I review the applications one by one thoroughly when I get home. And so what I'm looking for in this class is a good mix of kids. Like, I definitely need kids that are like over the top, want to be the center of attention, want to be on stage, want to perform, but then I also need kids that are somewhere in the middle, and then I need kids that are at the tail end of that, that don't really want to be seen, that don't really want to be on stage, but they want to do the work and not necessarily be the center of attention for doing so. I mean, the group of kids was pretty strong. There were a few kids that they had little red flags here and there for different reasons. And those are the kids that I really need to take a look at their teacher recommendation and see what their teacher said and kind of think about the process of them applying. I did make sure that when we started the whole process to really acknowledge the level of responsibility and discipline it took for them to even go through all these steps over summer break. Like, there's a certain amount of responsibility and on top-itness that comes with checking your school email over the summer, getting things turned in over the summer, especially after the school year that we've all had. So that all went well. I think I was talking about what went wrong, and the things that went wrong were just like little tweaks that I need to fix. I think I was also explaining that there were several applications that just didn't print, and me being in the rush that I was, no, I wasn't in a rush. I think I was just tired, and I just assumed that the printer printed everything. The first few students, like students whose last name began with an A or B, I didn't have a printed application for them, so they didn't have an envelope packet, so they came in and they didn't have the materials. Luckily, I made extras of everything just in case, and so I had to just hand them the papers, and then eventually they got an envelope because there were some students who just didn't show up, and so we put their things in there. So that happened, and I feel like there was one more thing. There were some typos on the task grid, but again, that's more of me just not taking that extra step and like reading through everything one more time. I think I was just so focused on getting things printed and copied that I just assumed that I had everything finalized, and there were certain spots where I didn't because I had to change locations of things and tweak directions a little bit, but it was fine. Everybody understood. Everybody finished the task in the allotted time. We were running a little bit late because I didn't allot for orientation time in the beginning. It worked out because there was a 15-minute chunk of time that was unaccounted for towards the end, so we kind of used that in the beginning, if that makes sense. And it was fine. So I'm gonna show you very quickly. I checked with this parent to make sure that I can show their kids' stuff. Hold on a second. So that you can kind of get a sense of what they did. So everyone had one of these envelopes. I got these off of Amazon, and I need to get another set because I didn't have, I think I only had like 35 and I needed a few more. And so when the students came in, what they saw, kind of recreate this for you, was they had this envelope on their desk, and this is what I was laying out this morning. And let me make sure I'm not showing any super personal information. It had their printed application in the front, so they knew, look for your name, it's in alphabetical order, and they knew that that's where they sat. And so the first thing in the packet was just the printed version of their application. So their application was a Google form, and then yesterday one of the things I was printing was just their printed response, because it makes things easier for me when I am reviewing everything. So they had that. And then they had a page that they were emailed in preparation for the interviews, just as a reminder. And I don't think she has hers in here. That just kind of reminded them of everything they needed to have done ahead of time, and told them at what time in this 2-hour block are they coming to me and the assistant principal for the actual sit-down 2-minute interview where they were sharing their personal item. And then they had this. This was their task list. They had 4 must-do items, and 1 optional thing that they had to choose from. So they had to, for sure, do the team builder activity, They had to send me an email, and they had to do the 1 to 2 minute interview, and they had to make an acrostic poem using the word Hawks, which is our mascot. And the acrostic poem had to be focused on what kind of school spirit they wanted to see at our school. So those were the things everyone had to do. If they were a new applicant to leadership, meaning they had never participated in leadership before on campus, then they had to choose one task from this column, just one. They were either gonna make a flyer or a poster for a spirit day, create a SMART goal for themselves as an 8th grader, or do a count and deliver activity where they were given this roster of students and said, you need to deliver grams to this class, and we need this many grams. And so they had to count out the number of grams, put it in an envelope, label it, and deliver it to the correct classroom. If they were a returning applicant, meaning that they have participated in some leadership program before at our school, then they did pick one item from column 2. Those options were also a task or a flyer, write a letter to me about their leadership roles in the past, and then create an original spirit week. So they had to pick one of those. So when I go home today, those will be the things that I'm reviewing, and they put everything, when they were done, they knew to put everything back in this folder and turn this in at the very end. So when they came in this morning, we went over that together, and then I made sure that they knew that there were materials in this envelope that they probably wouldn't use, because I gave them the materials they needed for every task, because I had no way of knowing what tasks that they were going to choose. So I said, if at the end of this you have extra materials in here, that's fine, because those should be the materials of the task you didn't do. But I made sure they understood that they had a total of 5 things to complete, that at the end of the day, they should have done a total of 5 things. And I told them if they have questions, they can ask them, but we may give very vague responses, because the purpose of this task interview is to check to see how well they can follow directions, how well they can be meticulous about what they do and what they're turning in. And then that was it. So once I oriented them, then they got started, and that was it. They had to come to the interview with the name tag made that they wore. They had to bring in a photo of themselves and paste it to the acrostic poem, so I had a visual of who they were when I was reviewing the materials. And then they had to do a flip grid response, and the prompt was asking them to tell me something that they learned about themselves as a student and or as a person as they went through the year 2020 and going to school and living life in a pandemic. And so all that had to be done prior to. So that's everything that they did. And then I have a little point tally sheet where when I look at their interview, or look at their interview packet, I should say, I'll just be going down the list and checking things off, and they'll get points for everything that they've done. And some of them will get more points because they did something exceptionally well. Some of them might get less points because maybe it was a weaker spot. And if they didn't do anything, they won't get any points. And then I'll be able to rank all the applicants based on the number of points they accumulated. So I feel like that was a lot of information. I've been talking according to my viewfinder for 9 minutes, but that's what they did today. I'm very happy with it. After everything was done, we did a quick debrief with everyone that helped, with the exception of the student that was helping me. And they all said that they felt like it went smoothly, it made sense, they enjoyed doing it, and that we all feel like, generally speaking, it was a good group of kids. And we were all on the same page with the students that we thought were kind of like red flags, meaning that maybe they're not the best candidates for leadership at this time. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go home and eat, because I haven't eaten yet. And I'm gonna start looking at these applications. I'm gonna tweak the things, the materials that I have that need to be tweaked while it's fresh in my mind. And hopefully within the next couple of days, I'll have a sense of who's gonna be in this class and who's not, and go from there. So, since I feel like I've already done a lot of talking, you probably will not be hearing from me until later in the day. So yeah, I'm gonna go up to the office. I have a couple questions to ask, and then I'm gonna head home and start looking at these applications while I can still picture these kids in my mind. So that's how it went. I'll talk to you later. Hello, it is hours later. It is about 6:45, and I'm just so tired. What time did I leave school? I want to say I left at like 1:30 or so. I had to clean everything up, put everything back, get some stuff in my car, and then I stopped by the elementary school. Oh, excuse me. I stopped by the elementary school where my former assistant principal is now going to be principal, and one of my former co-workers is going to be assistant principal. I don't know if you guys ever saw her in my vlogs that first year. I can't remember. Maybe not, because maybe she wasn't there. But anyway, I went to stop by there because I needed to drop some things off, and of course we started talking. I came home, ate my first meal of the day, and I spent a little bit of time organizing all the turn-in materials from the interviews. And my intention is to start reading through them while my mind is fresh, but I think I'm just so tired that I haven't even started that process yet. All I did was organize the materials. I looked at the spreadsheet from the application, from the actual applications, and made sure to highlight all the students that showed up, mark the students that didn't, and then separated those students who let me know well in advance that they wouldn't be able to make it today, so that I knew who I needed to make arrangements with. And then that's about as far as I got. I picked up the stuff to start looking through the packets, and then I realized I'm too tired to look at things thoroughly. And excuse me. The dilemma is I really want to do this while the information and the faces are fresh. So I'm gonna try to do some of it tonight and start, but my sister comes tomorrow and I want to get some of it done so that it's not like hanging over my head while she's here, and then it's next week and then I'm trying to remember and put a face to a name. So I'm here right now. I think, well, and did I say this a few minutes ago? I don't even know. I think I'm super tired because there was a lot of mental work that was happening today, and this is the first time in a while that I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, and I had to remind myself, you've been up and moving and since 5:30 this morning. So I'm going to cook right now. I don't even know if I'll eat the dinner because I don't feel hungry at all, and walk Riley and all of that, edit the video, and then hopefully that'll like refresh me so that I can at least start on these applications and go from there. So I'm really just here to close the vlog. If you enjoyed today's vlog that was very heavily focused on these leadership interviews, please give this a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And if you're not following me on Instagram, go over there, follow me at Smarty Style. And as always, I hope that you are well. And if you are not well, please be well. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.